My fellow Bahamians, I greet you with grace, kindness, and the love of the Lord, whose divine purpose for the Commonwealth of the Bahamas I gladly embody and hold dear. For the Judeo Christian community and the Jewish and Hebrew nations in the Bahamas celebrating this new year beginning today, Rosh Hashanah, may Yahweh bring peace to you, your families, your communities, and the nation. My fellow Bahamians, this communication today is possibly one of the most important ones you will hear in this final quarter of 2024, for this will set the tone for Bahamians going forward. So I wish to kindly invite you to listen intently and share it with your family, your friends, your colleagues across the Bahamas, especially those in Grand Bahama, because this is about all our now and our future. Hello, this is S Ali McIntosh, the servant leader of the Bahamas Constitution Party and mother in the nation. This Davis administration is now in full campaign mode. This past summer has been filled with many shenanigans by their public relations machinery, who have set out to intentionally deceive the Bahamian people, being touted as the success of the Davis administration. As I view the political landscape and analyze all that I've heard, this wicked administration is gearing up for the call of an election within the next 6 months, almost 1.5 years early. Why would a government that's performing well in the best interest of the electorate call a snap election way before their term is up? The only explanation is to be able to fulfill their own selfish mandate of a second term on the backs of the Bahamian people to continue to engage their aging leader, their aging chairman, and their aging cabinet. What speaks volumes, though, of the ineptness of the leadership of this country is that the official analysis from the Minister of National Security and the Commission of Police says that crime is down, but murder is up 13%, like murder isn't crime. Meanwhile, young men are killing each other at an alarming rate on our streets daily, more than 91 murders as of today. Also alarming is the rate of suicide, as both young men and women have attempted and some have successfully taken their own lives because of the hopeless situation they find themselves in. It is not always mental illness, but a great deal of the underlying cause of suicide is simply despair, with nowhere else to turn. While the government has promised you lower rates, the electricity bill for homes and businesses on New Providence and Grand Bahama have skyrocketed over the past 3 months, with the Minister of Energy giving vague and inadequate explanations that are unbelievable. On New Providence specifically. In New Providence, this is due to the Davis administration's deceptive attempt to divest the Bahamian people of their assets at BEC and BPL with a proposed joint venture with Pike Corporation of the USA, which has effectively been foiled by the BCP case against them in the Supreme Court. And now the office of the Prime Minister and the Attorney General will have to defend the government against these charges for these illegal operations that have not been sanctioned by the Parliament of the Bahamas. We will talk about those issues at another time. As I turn to Grand Bahama, the matter of the Grand Bahama Power Company proposal for a rate increase on the backs of Grand Bahamians have been suspended due to the vigorous advocacy by the citizens and the Grand Bahama Power Got to Go committee led by Richard Johnson and others. While the Grand Bahama Port Authority suspended the review of the increase at this time, the BCP supports IRCA as the delegated regulator, according to law, as the Grand Bahama Port Authority cannot legitimately regulate a company of which it has beneficial ownership in. And this I will speak about further at another time. Meanwhile, the Davis administration is in Grand Bahama, showboating and peddling hope where they have not effectively secured such. With black limousines riding around Freeport enticing the people that the hotel is sold and investors have come to the island to give empowerment through jobs and opportunities. And the Davis administration knows full well that no deal has been struck and that hotel is not sold. If this is not good enough, the Minister of Grand Bahama is now running a full-scale scam to give the hopeless, the homeless, and unemployed false reason to hope so that they can vote for the PLP when this snap election is called. I've been reliably informed that the minister is offering in her constituency the option of housing or employment for 6 months. And when the employment option was chosen, some men featured working in front of cameras, touted as employed, were let go after only 48 short hours. What kind of heartless and careless government would dangle a carrot in front of the indigent for political gain when the dismal and hopelessness is real on the ground in Grand Bahama? Grand Bahamians, this Davis administration is prepared to effectively deceive you and ask for a second term to completely finish you off until you are so discouraged and frustrated that all of you and your children will leave Grand Bahama so that they can sell your houses and your land for the full-scale divestment of the entire island of Grand Bahama to the foreign element for the continued chokehold of those choosing to remain on the island. This, my fellow Bahamians, is facilitated by what I call the PLP F&M Partnership for Governance of the modern Bahamas, as both parties are facilitating big money and the foreign element for the eventual destruction of the authentic Bahamian spirit and their way of life. And for successive administrations, the Bahamian people have been disenfranchised if your party is not in government. My fellow Bahamians, the work of a government is to produce a good environment for citizens to do business and generate opportunities for the citizens to prosper. It is the work of a government to build schools and clinics and hospitals, pave roads, give you good drinking water, keep the water running and the lights on, to protect the environment, to provide police protection and order on the street to keep the criminal element at bay. They are not doing you any favors when they do these things. That is what you elected them to do. That is what you are paying them for. So no political party agenda is bigger than the people they are supposed to be serving. So giving this administration a second term is not required because they are doing their job. It is required when they effectively do more for the people than they do for themselves. It's called proper stewardship. My fellow Bahamians, I know you must be exhausted. I certainly am. Exhausted by shenanigans purported to be good governance. Exhausted by opportunities only provided for the loyalists of the PLP F&M Partnership for Governance. Exhausted because Bahamians are denied their constitutional right to justice and access to the office of the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court, like the Patriots case is being denied. I know you must be exhausted when minimal sentences is handed down for heinous crimes like molestation of children and the rape of the elderly. Thank God for the advocacy of work of women and children agencies like Women United and Zonta, FOAM, and the Crisis Center, among many others, who steadily push against these injustices in the judicial system. Bahamians, you must be exhausted when legislation are brought before Parliament passed with no public consultation, such as the citizenship bill that's coming and others, giving foreigners access to citizenship with no clear pathway sanctioned by law, and the proposal and implementation of tax hikes after tax hikes and tax invention, and the list goes on and on. This is your time to make a choice. This is your call to save the Bahamas from the diabolical PLP F&M Partnership for Governance of the modern Bahamas. In fact, this is your last chance. This may be your last opportunity until the Bahamas and the authentic Bahamian way of life are consumed in the globalist, money-driven agenda to use the Bahama land for themselves, aided by this PLP F&M Partnership for Governance. This partnership continues to annihilate the dreams of the authentic Bahamian people with a proposed illegal voting bloc and with the revelation of a Hollywood-style program to eat their young, with a mentor and groom program to sap the virtue, to use and then discard young people who will not submit or seek to walk away from the debauchery and immoral activity designed to take our young people and abuse them continually. My fellow Bahamians have decided to join my political son, Hanshel, K. Kareem Hanshel, his call for no PLP and no FNM to be elected in the next general election. You must think that this is hard, but instead, you must vote for yourselves. You must vote for your children. You must vote against this PLP and FNM. My fellow Bahamians, we implore you, buy gold tried in the fire. A political party that has fought for 25 years to stand up for the Bahamian people and their right to good governance. A party that did not fold up the first time we did not win. A party that has chosen not to abandon the agenda, not the second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth time we didn't win, but who is prepared to stand this seventh time, God's perfect number, standing up for the people, his beloved Bahamas. My fellow Bahamians, the Bahamas Constitution Party have effectively launched a campaign to seek and call forward to lead authentic persons with strong principles of integrity and accountability, whose determination is to serve the Bahamian people and make the Bahamas the nation intended by our forefathers and foremothers, a nation committed to the core values of self-discipline, of industry, of loyalty, unity, and an abiding respect for Christian values and the rule of law. A BCP-led coalition alliance of independent young men and women who will champion the cause against evil and corruption and fight for your right to survive and thrive in your own homeland. This is why we are calling on young men and women who have not bowed their knees to Baal to stand with us, to stand for right, though the heavens fall. And as the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, we need leaders who are not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. And in 2024, the BCP stands as a beacon of light and an insignia of hope in these troubled times. Plain and simple, the BCP is no tricks, no gimmicks. We offer just truth and purity, authenticity, not deceit, not perfect people, just resolved decision makers. The BCP is prepared on day one, if given the opportunity, to serve you, to do your work, to fulfill your agenda, to help you actualize the dream for you and your families. With the programs articulated in our Mandate 2022, the Blueprint for Governance, a 50-year plan to develop the Bahamas, featured on our website, bcpparty.org. And finally, the Bahamas will have to choose effectively whether to place a man or a woman in office as the leader of the modern Bahamas. The idea of a woman leading the nation is not normal. However, it is credible. Many nations are choosing so, Mexico being the latest just a few days ago, and the United States will have a chance in just 30 days. Women's leadership in governance is not weak, as some purport. They simply focus on the more important matters of order and not power struggle. They focus on fixing things and stopping corruption. They focus on saving the next generation rather than destroying their future. Women lead differently than men, which is why more countries led by women stand significantly less corrupt than countries led by men. I don't want you to think that I don't believe in the leadership of men and the covering that is inherent in their presence, but I'm convinced that in the capacity of birthing and nurturing that comes from being a woman, And whenever a country needs a new birthing protocol and the birth of new vision, and certainly new life, the time for a woman to lead has come. And I am a woman. And the reason I surround myself with strong men, because they will do well to protect and surround the situation of the birthing of the new Bahamas. My fellow Bahamians, this is your time to wake up, your time to choose, your time to choose a mother or a brother. It is that simple. Against the backdrop of a Bahamas ensnared in violence, deception, corruption by successive administrations of PLP and FNMs. The Bahamas Constitution provides the greatest opportunity for a new government who love the people of the Bahamas. A BCP-led government is still the only hope for true and authentic leadership in this Bahama land. Certainly with God on our side, we will fight and we will win. In closing, and as always, may God bless and keep safe the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I thank you.